especially at the national political level, the time frame of political time frame is always very short, and politicians are not looking at what's good, what's the big vision for their country. They're looking at the next electoral cycle, and so they're going to ignore researcher advice if it means not alienating their voter base. But the EU is actually really great because its horizons and its funding for research go over a much longer period of time. They're much more open about taking risks with the kind of research that's supported. So I think it's actually a really wonderful institution in terms of supporting research in Europe. It really has been tremendous. But I think researchers also need to do more. I mean, if you're getting public funding, you have an obligation to actually connect with the society and feed that information back to society, inform society about the issues that people are really concerned about. And there's too much of a distance between a lot of researchers, unfortunately, and politicians, and then society. So integrating groups and stakeholders in your research from the beginning is a great way to do that, but also feeding that information back to the community and engaging with communities is also really important.
I think we have to look at this as project management. And we need to think like this, okay, so we have few points that we have to connect, and we just need to connect it in the sustainable way, and I think sustainable is a very crucial word. So you have researchers, they have to meet on the regular basis in the working groups with activists from the ground, and please not from the bubble, but from the ground, and policymakers, and they have to work out on the solutions and consult each other with a serious attitude towards each voice on the regular basis. I think that should be a working pattern like this built 3 years, so every month such a meeting with the stakeholders take place, and another month it's the same, and then every person has to have appointed, I don't know, bridge person, how you want it, that makes sure that this process is being followed up. I think the lack of the follow-up is the biggest mistake in EU, because the knowledge and the conclusion has to go down to the people, and someone has to literally do that. So someone has to be on this meeting, take these notes, go down to the people, go to the civil society, go to the offices in Warsaw, in little villages, and and communicate them, get the feedback and go up. And someone has to be hired for this, and it's not going to be one person, but 10. And we have to invest in the bridges between the points and be serious about this.
A lot of decision makers, they don't care about expertise in social and political matter because they think they know, because they are elected. I give you only one example, the CNRS, the Centre National for Scientific Research in France, after the Bataclan terrorist attack, has proposed a research. A lot of people have research around radicalization. And when the director of the CNRS presented the results, the report, to it was a former prime minister, he said, you know, if you want to understand this, in a sense, you agree with. So they don't read the report. So I think part of the problem is not on the research side, but it's on the other side.
Well, I think what has to be pushed is that the notion of who you are, you have to push up the notion of citizenship more up, you know. Like most people that are academics, they would say, I'm an academic, first of all. And then they would, maybe 10 categories later, they would say, oh yeah, and I'm a citizen. But the first obligation we all have, if we want to really be hugely democratic, is to consider ourselves as citizens. So I think the academics should participate in these meetings just like everybody else, but as citizens. Then later they can put on their academic hats and they can start analyzing, but their voice is just as important from a citizenry perspective as all the others. You know, they are part of the whole game. They're not an outside bubble. You know, they're also affected by all the unfairness, you know, and I think academics in Europe are not having a particularly easy time at the moment. I mean, in Iceland at least, the universities are completely underfunded, you know, and we have you know, this is the only way to face the future, obviously, because of what's going to happen, is to encourage good research and to get new technologies and creativity and all this. That everybody knows. But how come then the system doesn't respond to it and allows for sort of more money into the education system and to critical thinking for children and all that, which everybody seems to agree upon on those fancy dates and fancy dinners, and then implement it then, you know?